All right, in this video, we're going to discuss how to trade with a feeler. If you're looking for a league trophy, check the description below. I have a link that will take you to a page that gives you a variety of options for your league. Click on that link, get an awesome trophy for your fantasy football league. All right, so let's go over to our graphic. The feeler is different from the thinker because they base their decisions on their values. They base their decisions on what they like, and they even base their decisions on how others feel. So these are interesting people. They're going to rely a lot on their gut. A lot of what they say and do is going to seem illogical. And you can identify a feeler basically by what they say. I feel like. I'm not feeling it. You might offer, like a guy said to me this year, I was trying to trade Josh Jacobs to him earlier in the year. He's like, yeah, I'm just not feeling Josh Jacobs. Okay. All right. And granted, Jacobs was not having, it was the beginning of the year. So a feeler may not want to hurt someone else's feelings. And again, they rely on their gut to make decisions. Now, for a thinker, dealing with a feeler can be rather aggravating because they just don't make sense. They can get emotional as well. Like one guy said, I made you a reasonable offer and you counter with that. So at that point, when I read that, I was like, okay, dude, all right, we're two grown men playing a game and you're going to get emotional over a trade offer. Why? Every emotion has a thought before it. So what are the thoughts? This guy's trying to rip me off. This guy thinks I'm an idiot. This guy thinks I don't know how to play. What's this guy trying to pull? All of these things create anger. So why are you getting angry over a game? I'm not trying to make you feel stupid. I'm not trying to make you look stupid. I don't think you're stupid. I just made a counteroffer that I thought was fair. Let me see if I can pull this up. Now, this is 2 months ago, so this was at the beginning of the season. He offered me Stephon Diggs, Melvin Gordon, and Zay Jones. That's what he was going to give me. And he was asking for Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, Alec Pierce, my first and second for next year. So, back then it was like, well, Garrett Wilson might be the same as Diggs in a couple of years. Melvin Gordon, I don't have no interest in because I don't understand why Denver won't just make him the number one running back. There's always competition and they just won't give him the ball. So I have no interest in him. Zay Jones is on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is extremely inconsistent and he's just unproven. Really, it was Wilson in my first and second. If you took Melvin Gordon and Zay Jones out of it, and then you took Nico Collins and Alec Pierce out of it, and it was just Garrett Wilson, my first and second for Stephon Diggs, I think that's just too much. I wasn't willing to pay that. So that's what he offered me, and then I responded by saying, okay, I'll give you all 5 of those assets, Nico Collins, Alec Pierce, Garrett Wilson, my first and my second, but I want Stephon Diggs and Amon St. Brown. I don't want the other 2 trashy guys. I want 2 guys of value. I'm giving you 5 assets of value. Nico Collins, not so much. So let's just say 4 assets of value for 1 guy. No, I would like Amon St. Brown. So then he says, I sent you a fair trade and you respond with that. So I said, just counter. All of this energy wasted trying to prove how bad the deal is. Now, this is a very extreme example of a feeler. So then, and at this point, I'm not doing a deal with him, period. So he can make a counteroffer, but I'm done. So he sent Garrett Wilson, Micah Parsons, Nico Collins, and my first for Stephon Diggs. And then he offered Garrett Wilson, my first for 2023, and my first for 2024 for Stephon Diggs. And I never replied. And then he sent a question mark, and I never replied. I have no use for any of that. So how can you deal with a feeler? It's really hard sometimes. One thing I want to note is how others feel. And I deal with, there's one friend of mine that I deal with who's a feeler, and he hates that his time is wasted. So this goes back to values. So someone might value their time. They might value loyalty. So whoever I drafted, I'm going to stay loyal to. So it's going to be very hard to pry those players away from them. They may value prospects and young talent, rookies. They place an inordinate value on these assets, and so it's very hard to try to get them from them. They can appear very stubborn sometimes with no reason, and you're just like I've used this example before where I have a friend in 2 different leagues. In one league, he tells me a certain player, you're never going to get him off of my team. And then in another league, he has absolutely no interest in the guy. So it doesn't make, like, I understand the values, the evaluation of players can change based on the league settings and whether it's a dynasty, redraft, keeper. But that much, especially if it's like a dynasty versus a keeper, a dynasty versus a redraft, the valuation, like you take someone like a Garrett Wilson or a Jameson Williams or a Drake London or a Chris Olave. In a dynasty league, they have way more value. In a redraft league, they might not have so much value. I can understand that, but to go from such extremes doesn't make sense to me. I've had other friends who tell me, oh yeah, that guy always gets injured, or that guy burned me 1 year, so I'm never going to own him again. It was a bad experience, and that is now set in stone, and I don't want to own that person. So I had a friend that preached that to me about a certain receiver that's always injured. He's like, I'm not taking that guy. He's like, he's always injured. And then in another league, he traded for that guy and then offered him to me, which I find hilarious. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And the thing about a feeler is that sometimes they don't even know why they are reasons for doing things. How can you make a deal with them? You've really got to appeal to what they like. And you're probably going to have to overpay, to get what you want. If they really like a player, then you may never just be able to get them off their team. I think if you continue to make fair offers to them, it will earn their trust. And if you learn what players they really like, it's going to make it easier to make deals. You may, after a while, have to let it come to you. If you can't seem to find a way to get something done, give them a break and let them come to you. The funny thing about feelers is that as stubborn as they can appear, when they really want something, they'll overpay for it. So if they come to you with a trade offer, they might give you more than you ever could have gotten by offering a trade to them. You may just have to let them come to you. But if you sense that they're starting to get emotional with you, it's really just going to keep escalating. So you got to back off of it. That would be my advice. But find out what they value. If they value rookies, if they value draft picks, if they value certain players, if they're homers, you may be able to. I know one guy that just loves Miami, loves the Dolphins. And so they will overpay to get even lesser players on the team, like a Jeff Wilson or a Raheem Mostert. But if you've got like a Tua, that person's going to really pay for that. So those are some pointers on dealing with a feeler. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.